Hello and welcome to 613 Sports. Today you got your boy Eddie, you got your boy Brandon. Today it's a new show. It is We Talk Football. No, it's not
WTF?
It's not it is We Talk Football. So it's a new show. We're going to be talking about football. We're going to be talking about all things Canadian football, whether it's CPL, whether it's Atletico Ottawa, or whether it's WOSO, which is women's soccer. We're going to cover it all, and we're going to go through some topics from the past week. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's go.
So the first topic is coming out of CPL. We have a new club in Saskatchewan. Eddie, tell us about it.
Yeah, so last Thursday night, the Canadian Premier League tweeted out a little teaser basically saying we're going to get a new expansion team. This came out of nowhere. The Canadian Premier League is not known for keeping secrets very well. I mean, none of the teams are. All of a sudden, we have a new team that no one knows anything about. No leaks, nothing. Everyone's speculating we'll be in Quebec. We'll be another BC team. Will we get a Saskatchewan team or somewhere out east? Friday morning, it's announced that Saskatoon will be getting a team. It will probably come in 2023 because they have to build the stadium and stuff. But this is very fantastic news. You cannot have a Canadian league without having a team in Saskatchewan. Now, people may question why not Regina? Why Saskatoon? Well, here's the thing. The league doesn't decide where. It's wherever the owners have money and want to provide a team. Yes, we have a stadium in Regina where Saskatchewan Rough Riders play, but that ownership group probably didn't come forward with a team. The Living Waters group in Saskatoon wanted a team, and they're going to get one. So that also should answer a question of why Quebec doesn't have a team. Yes, Quebec needs a team so much. We need French population watching it. But if there's no owners wanting to put money on the table, the league really doesn't have a choice. But the league did say that they're not done with expansions yet. We should see more this year. So hopefully, cross your fingers that we finally get a Quebec team. But for Saskatoon, this is great. That whole province and that whole city, they all needed a soccer team. They wanted from the beginning. The amount of marketing they pushed, the amount of pushing for the league to bring a team there, it's great to see. And I'm really looking forward to having this really passionate fan base joining the league.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part about this. We know in Saskatchewan, no matter what the sport is, and if their first season is trash, they're going to be back and they'll also be traveling. Because we've also seen in the CFL, even here in Ottawa, you see a bunch of Saskatchewan Rough Rider fans. You see it in Toronto, they'll travel anywhere for their team. So definitely looking forward to Saskatoon. But I am a bit salty that we didn't get a Quebec rival after this.
Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping to have a Quebec rival. It would make great road trips. And I mean, Ottawa has a French population. It could help with chance and stuff. But at the end of the day, like I said, if there's no ownership group ready to put money on the table, the league really can't do anything. But I'm hoping the league can start getting the French population by adding French content. There's next to no French content. There's no reason for French people to watch it right now. So even though we don't have a team there, I think they need to start putting in the effort to maybe convince an ownership group to put money on the table there in Quebec.
True. So going to something more local, we have our home team of Atletico Ottawa. So there was a bit of a leak on Twitter. What was that about?
Yeah, so a popular website, accidentally leaked the entire Atletico Ottawa's roster. Now, obviously, there were players that were signed, and there were a lot of players that, no one saw before. People started questioning it, and the thing is, a couple hours later, the website took it down. Now, the team hasn't even mentioned this leak at all, so we have no idea if it's confirmed or not. But if it is confirmed, there's a lot of players on that list that's going to make this team very competitive. We have Paoli for one. We have Manella from York, who also played for Auto Fury, coming back to this side. This roster, if it's true, we're going to try to put it up on the screen. We can find it. If it's true, Atletico Ottawa is going to be very competitive this season.
For sure. Right out of the gates, I'm thinking playoffs. If not, we're might be a stretch. But we could probably push for the title. We could have a little bit of a race, apply some pressure. But right now, like the players on that list, like we definitely will have it up. We will search the internet. But like I'm seeing players like Paoli. I've had him on Football Manager. that kid is next level. And yes, I do my scouting on Football Manager, so just allow it.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, of course.
No, but
Can't
I
go
mean,
wrong with it.
Island Games, Atletico Ottawa had a patched up roster last minute, and we were one game away from making the playoffs. Now, can you imagine a season, a full season where we actually planned out our roster with the Atletico Ottawa scouting, Atletico Madrid scouting, we're making the playoffs. And if not, I'm going to be very surprised. It's going to have a big collapse somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the Island Games, how some players weren't even allowed to play because they couldn't get in the country.
Bernardinho and Tevin Shaw, they're supposed to come. They couldn't play. Bernardinho is going to be a player very fun to watch. I've watched some highlights, and he is going to bring some offense to this team, and I'm so excited to see everyone play. I can't wait for the season to start.
Have some play on that left foot. But I'm looking forward to Tevin Shaw because that midfield with him and V, that's going to be scary to go up against. But we also had one specific player on that list going by the name of Drew Becky, who's Janine Becky's brother. He's coming off an injury, but he also played for Fury, but he made that leak. So
yeah,
what are we saying there?
So Stuart Mack, obviously, he tweeted out that Drew Becky's going to sign with the team. Obviously, there hasn't been any announcement. Drew Becky did play for the Fury a couple years ago. Like you said, suffered an injury. He is on the older side, but he will bring a lot of experience to the back line, which we saw had a couple issues on the Island Games. And with a couple young players there with our new draftees, I think that's a good signing that can really help mentor the kids into becoming really great defenders. So I like it. I mean, we'll see if he's going to sign. We're obviously speculating, but if he does sign, I'm interested to see how he improved from the injury.
For sure, he definitely brings some solidity to that defense, some much needed depth, and like you were saying, tutoring guys or just helping them along like Larea. So he will definitely be a welcome sign-in if he does sign, and if not, it is what it is. But we are going to go to something that is confirmed, and that is the men's Olympic roster to try to qualify to get to the Olympics. So there are no TFC players because of COVID reasons. So no Priso, no Rudy, and no Jaden Nelson, who is an absolute baller. So
yeah,
what are we saying there?
It's an unfortunate incident with the Toronto squad. I mean, they had COVID, they didn't have time to train properly, so it wouldn't make sense for them to make this roster. But it's fine because we have so many other players there. We have Vancouver Whitecaps producing a lot of good players there. I've won Theo Bear. We have Montreal, CF Montreal now, producing players. And also in Canadian Premier League, we had two players there. We had Thomas Mayer-Jagerb, former Ottawa Fury player. So this roster, it's going to be interesting to see if we can qualify. We haven't qualified for the Olympics in a while. And obviously we're missing some key players who their clubs won't let them play here, like Alphonso Davies or Jonathan Davies, which makes sense. It's Olympic qualifying. But I think Canada can be a dark horse. The players we have here are really young and really talented, and I think we can surprise a couple teams. And who knows, we can probably make the Olympics. That'll be great.
Even though we're missing a couple players, some players couldn't travel because of the UK or from whatever country with their regulations, we still have a strong team. Like, we have some forwards who played in the MLS. We got like Tablo, we've got Theo Bear, and Lucas Diaz, who finally declared for our country. There's been a lot of talk leading up to this. He finally says yes, so we're definitely going to be looking out for him to carry that offensive load going into qualifying.
For sure.
So we are going to head on a little break. You guys can find this nice player profile of a player we are going to be speaking about later in the show, and stay tuned.
Morning. I punched a boy in grade 2 after his team beat mine at recess. So yeah, I did get in detention. Yeah, I wasn't a bad kid, but there were a couple instances where people got on my bad side. So yeah.
So jumping into WOSO now. WOSO, for those of you who don't know, is women's soccer, and it's definitely alive and well. We have so many talented Canadian players playing in America, Canada, and even abroad. So we are going to be covering them, especially because we made a promise to all of you on our Insta page during National Women's Day that we will carry a lot more women's sports. We are going to be going up against that 2% in media that only talks about women, and we're going to break some barriers. So first thing we got is a women's friendly that is in addition to the one that was already scheduled against England, who is ranked 6th. We are going to be playing Wales on April the 9th. This is going to be basically a tune-up before the women go to the Olympics and see how they do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a tune-up. You need to play a lot of games to get ready, especially in how the world is right now. You're not getting a lot of action. Obviously, the women's in their own league are getting action, but as a team, it's a different chemistry. So they're already scheduled to play against England, which is going to be a very tough match because England is they're a dark horse. They're a really top side. In Canada, they're going to have some issues, I fear, in scoring at least. But hopefully we can solve those. And then as well now against Wales, that's another added game. The more games you can get, the better, the more chemistry, the more fluid the girls can be together. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch. The more national soccer we can get, the better.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking on that, like in the previous tournaments and like the She Believes Cup, the World Cup, it always seems like we'll hold our own against teams of our same caliber, but when we go up against those top sides like the Englands, the Netherlands, the Swedens, we struggle to score. So if we could practice getting some attacking flow now before we head to the Olympics, it would be much needed and very effective.
Yeah, in the She Believes Cup, we had a really good tournament. I mean, we should have beat America. I mean, thanks to that referee with a questionable non-call. But at the same time, we didn't score many goals that tournament, and we struggled. So that's one thing I'm looking forward, looking to see if we can really improve on putting the ball in the net, especially against England and Wales. Those 2 games back to back. I mean, hopefully we can see improvement and get us tuned up for the Olympics. Because if you're not scoring, you're not winning games. I'm sorry. You can have the best defensive team, but you're not going to win up a lot of games.
And we do have a pretty good defensive team.
We do.
Can't rely on that to just win games. Defense wins tournaments, but you need an attack to win games.
Exactly.
You know? So also speaking about the Olympics, we have an addition to Team GB, which is Team Great Britain, who is a former national team player, Rhian Wilkinson. She was touted to get the Canadian women's national team job, but when she wasn't considered, she decided to move over to England and become part of their coaching staff. So What do you got to say about Wilkinson?
Yeah, honestly, I respect that decision. I mean, why would sit around doing nothing here when you have an opportunity in England, which is soccer, football is huge in Europe. So that's the one place you want to be to grow as a coaching career. I mean, obviously, we would like to stay here in Canada, but she wasn't offered a job. I can't really, comment on why would she stay here. I wish her the best of luck on Great Britain's coaching staff, but I mean, hopefully we beat them.
100%. Like, she is definitely worthy of getting quality coaching minutes. So we will wish her luck, but against our team, not so much, So also in the world of WOSO, last week we had Champions League, and it's going into the final 8, and we still have 6 Canadians left, which is huge news.
Yeah, we have Jordan Hiddema and Ashley Lawrence playing for PSG. We have Janine Becky playing for Manchester City. We have Jessie Fleming on Chelsea. And of course, Kadisha Buchanan on Lyon. That team just keeps winning the Champions League over and over. But this is fantastic. I mean, we used to the final 8, and we have this many Canadian players playing. They're going to end up playing against each other, which is just perfect. And all those sides are top teams. This isn't just like one side's not good. These are two heavyweights on all games coming up together, and we're going to see top Canadian talents playing each other, and I'm so excited to watch this.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you even have Steph Labe, who made the switch to Rosengard. Their team's coming out of nowhere, it seems. She's putting in performances, their team's winning. And we're seeing strong teams, like you're saying, all throughout. Chelsea looks like they could make a deep run. Man City's looking like they might be favorites with the amount of depth they have.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lyon and PSG, who are always there in the finals, and even Wolfsburg, who this year, as usual, has a strong team, but you never know till the end. So
no, this is one thing you need to watch for sure. I don't know why media isn't talking about it. I mean, you have this many Canadian players playing in the world's biggest stage almost in terms of domestic league, and people got to tune into this because you're not going to see. I mean, Kadisha Buchanan has won the Champions League how many times now, and there's next to no talk about her. And now you got even Jessie Fleming trying to win it. Like that. Brandon's happy, favorite player, Janine Becky, Manchester City. I mean, these are top teams. Anyone can win this. I have no idea who's going to win this, and hopefully a Canadian does.
Moving on to a player who's trying to get her team into the Champions League next year, we have Evelyn Vian, who bagged a brace against not former Canadian, but her Canadian teammate coming from Ottawa, Vanessa Gilles, who's playing for Bordeaux.
Yeah, we had Paris FC versus Bordeaux over the weekend. Bordeaux took the lead, and they were winning. And then in the 61st minute, Evelyn Vians came on, and she bagged the brace in the 71st and the 80th to give Paris FC a win. One of her goals, I think it was the first one, was a 1-on-1 against Vanessa. And Vanessa came out on the wrong end. Evelyn bags the goal. Her team wins. But that race is very, very tight in the French league. We have Bordeaux, I think, third, and Paris fourth. Like you said, pushing for the Champions League. So we might see a couple more Canadians making it into it next year.
Exactly. And there's only top 3 in France who get automatic. So that is definitely a race you have to be watching. If you're not watching it, I don't know what you're doing with your life right now.
I mean, that whole French league is so tight. You have PSG, you have Lyon, you have Bordeaux, Paris FC. And it's not only just top Canadian players. So there's a top women's international players that you saw in the Women's World Cup. So French league is a league. You're looking for a league to watch. I recommend the French league for sure.
It definitely is super entertaining, especially at the top where PSG and Olympique Lyon are always going back and forth. You never know who's going to edge it at the end. Like, they're going undefeated and they're still having competition right up until the end. So if you're not watching the French league, maybe I'm going to advocate for the English league. It's also competitive, but it's more competitive in the sense that for the Champions League, there's about 4 to 5 teams, maybe even 6 going for it. You have Man City, Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, and now Manchester United pushing for it. So it's always entertaining, especially with the Canadians who made the trip over the pond. Jessie Fleming, Janine Becky. You have Adriana Lyon, who's also there playing for West Ham. So it's always interesting to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of French. There's a lot of leagues to watch if you're interested in following women's teams, and I recommend it. Watch it. It's a really entertaining football.
100%. For sure. And also, someone from that league who we just spoke of, Jessie Fleming, won a big, not a big tournament. Frig, where's her head? Jessie Fleming won her. Okay. And my favorite player, I'm getting super flustered. It took me like 3 times to say this, but Jessie Fleming won the Conti Cup with Chelsea. Finally getting some minutes after her move. Coach is giving her trust, and she was a big part of the first 2 goals in that game.
Yeah, Chelsea won the Continental Cup against Bristol City. I mean, they breezed by there. But, and more important news, Jessie Fleming played 90 minutes. Solid, gained the trust of the coach, and was very solid out there. Like Brandon said, played a big part in a couple, 2 of the goals. And she's fitting in nicely in Chelsea, and she's really trying to get into that starter role. And she struggled in the beginning, but I could see her getting a lot more comfortable now.
Yeah, like, if you ever watch Chelsea, they have 3. When I say world class, I do not use this lightly. It's like top 5 in the world when I say world class. World class midfielders, and Melanie Loopholes. Sophia Ingle is even pushing, like, she's got some competition, and she's going up against that every day in training. Jessie Fleming's been on the national team since 15, so you know she's about that drive. So it's interesting to watch.
I mean, as an Arsenal fan, I'm not really happy Chelsea won, but I mean, as a Canadian fan, I'm happy for Jessie Fleming.
For sure. You always got to cheer on Jessie Fleming.
Like I said, this is our first time doing this. I mean, we have other shows on YouTube, but we really want to focus on football here. And more specifically, really focus on women's soccer. Like we said, only 3% of the media covers women's sports. And I mean, in terms of soccer in Canada, I mean, the women's game it's arguably bigger than the men's in terms of success and stuff we had. And I mean, the leagues are really competitive. We have a lot of Canadian players out in Europe playing. So we want to focus on that. And also just Canadian soccer in general. This country, Canada, soccer, soccer is the fastest growing sport in Canada. I'm sorry, hockey fans. And I mean, with the World Cup coming in 2026, we really want to help build that with the show. So like you said, we have any ideas or any suggestions of how to make the show better or what you want to see, just let us know. We're excited to do this and we hope to make this project long lasting. But like we said, if you see anything interesting in football, just think, WTF, they're going to talk about it next week. Peace.
You know it.